on new direction and strategy? Well, as Ray mentioned, it all began in Japan. The concepts were borrowed from a successful model deployed by iManifest in Japan. And in 2009, a group of 71 companies, collectively calling themselves iManifest, announced their pledge of support to the IBM through a full-page advertisement in the Nikkei paper, a national business publication. Their public declaration sent a clear message of intent to the market and bore fruit, with web traffic from their iForum site hitting a high of 24,000 visitors from the usual 1,000. People were being reached, and the campaign was deemed a success. Now, when iManifest EMEA was formed, it adopted the same formula developed and deployed by Japan, resulting in a full-page advert in a business publication. Now, while Europe has several preeminent business newspapers from which to choose, it was decided that the European edition of the Financial Times had the best pedigree and broadest reach in Europe. As such, a target of about £70,000 or just over 80,000 euros was set. The funding model devised that would allow the group to recruit this money involved a wide variety of donations depending upon the size and type of pledging business. Now, the model required almost 50 contributors. In principle, surely doable, but unfortunately in practice, we fell short. To date, we have a total pledge fund of nearly 35,000 euros. Great, that's a good-sized pot, but far from what was required for a plan of this ilk to be put into practice. As such, and with some key departures from the original iManifest EMEA team, the movement fell into limbo. Now, the interim time allowed the group to stop, collate, and regroup. In 2010, Ray Titcombe took control of the group, with Richard Field joining him shortly after. I joined in 2011, and discussions started in earnest on direction and strategy. It was a chance to start from a clean slate, a blank chalkboard, if you like, and plot down a course of action. So first, we wanted to relaunch the initiative and make everyone aware that iManifest was alive and kicking and had fresh impetus. We launched a Facebook page, relaunched the LinkedIn group, and along with our American counterparts, started to buzz again through the press and social media, and then, of course, there was also the 3 webinars. Next, we wanted to re-evaluate the plan. I wanted to question the merits of placing a flash-in-the-pan commercial in the Financial Times. Why was this chosen, and what was the target audience? In a nutshell, is this the right direction to take? We also wanted to consult the community. We wanted to present ideas, but use these to start active discussions and garner consensus. Now, with all things considered and with feedback from the community, we wanted to be in a position to put together a plan. Not a hey presto, flash in the pan affair, but a pragmatic, scalable and relevant marketing proposition that would resonate with the key audience, and more on this a little later. Finally, we wanted to make things happen. Not just be an impotent group with all the best intentions, but put into action the plan we authored, and not just make a positive statement about I, but help improve sales in EMEA too. Fine ideas, I hope you agree, but you'll probably recognize that we've already some way through the list. But what of the re-evaluation, and how did we move from the original concept to the one we have today? Well, starting from a blank canvas has its benefits. First, we reviewed what we had, and from a marketing perspective, the one message I took with me to build on was the one espoused by Dr. Frank Soltis. Now, he explained that a three-pronged marketing effort was required that makes distinctions amongst the CEO or CFO, the CIO, and the IT systems engineers. He went on to say that the IBM story needs to be explained in different terms to those 3 different audiences. This intrigued me and formed the basis of our Why I webinar, in which we introduced some rather left-field marketing ideas to stimulate debate and ideas. So we put together some ideas. And in this example, these were, just to recap, purely for example-only purposes, and were only used and made and designed to encourage ideas and discussions from the community. The idea here is that we're not overloading the reader with information. In this particular message, one for the CIO, a key differentiator to the normal type of IT advertising is that really we're keeping things a little left field. We're not going down the traditional IBM model. So we're separating the 2 entities, although the end goal is the same. We're keeping things concise. Do you know how long the average reader spends reading an advert? Well, on average, it's less than a second. So we need to put across a bold and expressive message that differs from the competitors in next to no time. We're baiting the hook and looking for a bite. So this example that we have on the slide now is unconventional, certainly more than the standard business campaigns that we're used to seeing in the IT media. So we have someone preparing to administer Viagra with the tagline, "It's simple, uptime and performance mean everything." It's suggestive, it's a little bit edgy, and something that corporate probably would do, hence the differentiation of the message. Further reading explains 60% of IT departments experience server dysfunction. This doesn't have to be you. Yes, we're using virility here as the metaphor. It's designed to raise interest. We're putting across a simple, concise, but meaningful message that should resonate with the reader and encourage them to learn more. Now, for the IT professional, we have a message that's different and more meaningful to them than the CIO. In this example, we're discussing day-to-day struggles of IT resource and administration. It simply asks, wouldn't it be better if we didn't have to spend so much time administering IT? And we all know that other platforms enjoy, well, let's just say greater interaction. Interaction that they could probably do without. And again, it's about formulating a quick, and in this case, pithy message that resonates with the audience. Finally, we have a tease advertisement for the CEO or CFO. Again, very much left-wing. We all know that the CEOs and CFOs are interested in bottom line, especially in these economically challenging times. This, like the other adverts, are teasers, inviting the audience to learn more. And it's these that form the basis of what we wanted to do with formulating discussions. We posted the images on Facebook with links from our group from LinkedIn, but unfortunately in the following days and weeks feedback was limited. But for those who did engage in the consultation, provided polar opinions. There were those who loved them, and those, namely from IBM, who hated the idea of doing something so left field. It was clear that defining any type of medium was going to be difficult. We were also hoping to gain ideas from other marketers or from techies with good ear for market requirements. Unfortunately, none were forthcoming. And as such, it was back to the drawing board. So at this point, we decided to take some time to complete market research to support the build of a compelling campaign. We wanted to develop an idea, a plan, that the I community could buy into. We didn't want to go round the houses again. We wanted to take the feedback we'd received, mixed with our own research and content, and present a clear strategy to the IBM I community on how best to market I in EMEA with a given, but perhaps flexible budget. It was important for us not to be wishy-washy, but be direct, strong, and clear, providing confidence to the community that we were on the right path, making it easier for the community to commit to supporting the campaign. The new idea was to build from the ground up a concrete marketing plan that included near to publishing quality samples with a defined path to market with associated costs. Any strategy we put together would have to be keenly focused, targeting a particular type with pertinent messaging. So we'd be using our limited resources, and this is both in personnel and monies, to better effect. The plan should also be scalable. We should be able to go to market with the pledges we already have, but improve a campaign should we gain more pledges. In addition, the concepts, imaging, and associated collateral should be able to be easily translated and transferred to other regions. I mean, this is not only for the other countries in EMEA, but perhaps also for the Americas too, reducing the cost there. Importantly, we want metrics on all results. We want to know who liked what, on what day, why. These are important not only for an understanding on the success of the campaign, but to better prepare us for future campaigns, and perhaps more importantly, pass positive sales leads to the correct IBM channels. Finally, and as before, this wasn't pipe dreams. We wanted to make things happen. We christened the campaign World Class. Our aim was simple, to position IBM as a world-class platform, target the campaign's key influences, create message using strong visual metaphors with pertinent, if pithy, words, and deliver the message using appropriate media to the identified target audience. The campaign would retain its left field vision, separating it from traditional IBM messaging, but tame down the comic elements we presented as samples during the YI webinar in the summer of 2011. We would continue in the use of strong metaphoric imagery and messaging. This should be formed in a way that would clearly deliver the right message to the right people alongside concise and consistent branding. As discussed earlier, Dr. Stolzis recommended we make distinctions in messaging to the CEO, CIO, and IT professional. With the limited resources we had, we decided to target a key influencer, the CIO. For the modern technology companies, the CIO has become prime-time real estate. Recent trends have demonstrated that businesses see the CIO as the principal buyer or gatekeeper for IT spend. We took time to research key technology influencers and decision makers. The results were as expected, with over 90% of key technology decisions being made or influenced by the CIO. So for the campaign, as we wanted to maximize our limited resources and create a really focused message, we chose that to the CIO. Let me give you a few details on how we developed the messaging for the CIO. Now, eminent technology marketing expert, a chap called Bob Wright, explains that treating CIOs as if they were a single homogeneous market is a ridiculously expensive and ineffective way to sell and market technology. He went so far as to segmentize CIOs in order to hone a message. We followed this line, details of which can be found within the extensive executive summary. But in summary, we find that the strategist is normally from a large multinational organizations. He looks to use technology as a means of competitive differentiation and is motivated to make outcome-driven IT decisions. He was one choice. The change agent is a character from a large, complex organization who values IT agility and shared risk, looking to support high pace of change and is motivated to transform IT organizations. Okay, interesting. The pragmatist, however, is from a risk-adverse organization, is looking for value IT from legacy technology vendors and is motivated to keep IT operation at a lower cost. Perhaps more our type. While the early adopter is from an innovative entrepreneurial organization who values technology superiority and first to market. He's looking to IT to develop a competitive advantage. It's important to identify the segments in the market as each has their own touch points. For example, the way you message and sell a change agent CIO versus a pragmatist CIO is very different indeed. iManifest identified the pragmatist as the key influencer. As such, we've developed a concise but targeted IBM messaging platform. More on this a little later. Other changes came in message delivery. The original flash in the pan idea of advertising in the European edition of the FT was scrapped. Now, while iManifest EMEA shares the same goals as our Japanese counterparts, the way we're to go about publicizing the IBMI is noticeably different. This tide-changing decision from a full-page advertisement in the FT to a more considered campaign came from a decision of a few points. The first being financial. iManifest EMEA was in a rut at the time. We reached a milestone in pledges, but were still a way off from reaching that 70K figure required to place an advertisement. There have been few pledges since 2010, and should we remain at this point, nothing will progress. Cultural. Now, Japan enjoys a largely unified society with negligible differences across the region. They speak the same language, they read the same papers. But we know that EMEA is far more fractured from the multitude of languages to the publications they see as primary in their region, and also the differences in cultural buying conditions and political and economical stability. As such, it is my belief that an advertisement within the Financial Times, even the EU edition, wouldn't have the same reach or impact as its Japanese counterparts. An impact. Now, flash in the pan has been used when describing the original iManifest concept. Now, as a marketeer, this doesn't appeal at all. This approach doesn't have consistency. Once it's done, it's done. There's no continuation or continuity of message. The advert may well be noticed, but it's forgotten by the target, by the turn of a page, and leaves little foundation to build upon. In my opinion, the old approach is the wrong approach. All it would achieve is a lot of backslapping, but have little impact. So we'd already identified our target audience. A conscious effort was made to find relevant publications, both online and in print, that our pragmatic CIO would turn to. Now, this was one of the easier aspects of the research, as there were few predominant networks, including LinkedIn, that CIOs investigated. Top amongst these were the print and digital editions of CIO. CIO Europe are an online publication and magazine focused on producing compelling content in areas such as business, technology and leadership. Now, the UK online magazine alone attracts 50,000 unique visitors each month, generating over 140,000 unique page impressions. It attracts the most senior of IT decision makers in its region, as well as other non-technical C-level professionals and a broad range of IT managers. As a first run, iManifest will use CIO as the base for advertising, covering its publications in UK, Germany, Sweden, Austria and France. Depending upon the end pledge fund, scope is within the campaign to extend the advertising to other publications. One thing I would ask from the audience, and you know your region better than I, being a UK-based professional, if there is an eminent CIO publication in your region that you think would be suitable for this campaign, please do let us know. So, With our objectives maps, we needed to set the expected outcomes. For any campaign, there's a mix of 3 business objectives. That's brand awareness, lead generation, and thought leadership. We aim to have a mix of all 3, but predominantly our first factor is to raise awareness. As such, we decided to focus the initial campaign on brand awareness with appropriate steps to accommodate lead generation and provide the seeds for thought leadership included within the mix too. Setting the appropriate mix is important as it sets out the parameters for the marketing campaign and allows the group to understand the expected outcomes and put in place relevant procedures to ensure success. So for brand awareness, our aim is to provide compelling advertising on the relevant websites. Coupled with this are the key performance indicators for each hit point. So for example, should we aim to provide compelling advertising on relevant websites, we should gain a certain amount of advertising impressions. On lead generation side, we should measure the click-throughs to our landing page. It's not rocket science, but more details are contained within the executive summary. With the appropriate marketing mix identified and an understanding of the target market and avenues for messaging, advertising and social, this is something that we cover more extensively within the summary, it's now time to put together our campaign that meets our criteria and is flexible on budget. The theme that encapsulates the messaging to the target audience is world-class, a world-class platform for the modern enterprise. Messaging for the CIO pragmatist should be clear and concise using visual metaphors that encapsulate the benefit statements that most resonate with the key audience. The campaign messaging should focus on one predominant keyword to retain a clear emphasis, but spread the messaging through 2 different touch points, leading to a third predominant message through a series of 3 adverts through the course of a month's advertising campaign staggered through different media outlets. World-class is the main header of a campaign, with keywords used as subheadings for each individual advertisement. The 3 iManifest aims to get across through the world-class are: you deserve world-class performance, you deserve world-class flexibility or agility, and you deserve a world-class platform. I'll take you through each. A good starting point for an introduction to the IBM would be focused on performance against ROI. Using performance against ROI as the headline is imperative, as it will attract most attention while the visual metaphor ties itself nicely with the messaging. Now, while the static advert that you see here shows the main strapline, in reality we'd have an animated leaderboard or an MPU on the website and could have a lead-in process, something like, your modern enterprise requires a platform with world-class resilience, strength, integration. Your enterprise demands world-class performance. Through the prose, an animation of the acrobat completing moves symbolizing the keywords would be running. As such, the prose would act as a subtitle to the animation. The second advertisement continues this world-class narrative by introducing flexibility, or perhaps we'll say agility, to the CIO need bank. While having a powerful and robust architecture is important, it's also key that the server platform that you choose allows you to load and run many enterprise systems as you require on the one box. Now, as with the performance advert, the below will be formatted as an animated leaderboard or an MPU with a lead-in process, something like, your modern enterprise requires the agility to rapidly adapt to market, flexible business systems that are productive, lean and cost-effective. This kind of feel, your enterprise demands world-class agility. Throughout the process, an animation of the acrobat completing moves symbolizing these keywords would be running. As such, again, the prose would act as a subtitle to the animation. Catchy, compelling, concise, to the point. Also running a narrative. And in the third and final advert in the world-class series of advertisements would bring elements of the first two benefits together to promote the IBM I as the perfect platform. As with the previous two adverts, this screen here shows will be formatted as an animated leaderboard or MPU, should the budget permit. And leading with approach something like agility, performance, power. Modern business architecture should be integrated, efficient and stable. Your enterprise should demand a world-class platform. Again, the animation of that would run as a subtitle to the prose. Maybe, again, the imaging here, platform, I like the idea of someone balancing there. I was thinking first of having perhaps, kind of a human pyramid where everyone's supporting everyone. Everyone, a number of people representing the different enterprise applications, and obviously a solid foundation, a world-class platform. And there were other ideas mooted that just about missed in the three strap lines. For example, world-class integration, have that as the leader, or world-class resilience. Now, before I move on to the delivery of this and the costs, I wanted to point out the subtext on the current crop of advertisements. It's quite literally gibberish. We want your help in putting together a concise paragraph that describes why you feel the IBM I is world-class. So your comments on the three salient points would be welcome. Once again, these points are: you deserve world-class performance, flexibility or agility, and platform. In addition, don't forget to send me your suggestions on other pertinent world-class items that you'd like to see, such as integration, which narrowly missed the top three. At this point, nothing is ruled out. Your comments, your feedback, your support and suggestions could be used to take the campaign forward. But please act now, as submissions for suggestions and comments close on Friday, the 18th of August. So we've a month to get your thinking caps on and send us your ideas. Now, as identified earlier, the first phase of the campaign delivery will be via the CIO network and delivered using the three separate world-class messages in three parts over the course of a month. Now, it is envisaged that the three advertisements be staggered with gaps of a day or two to maximize capture audience. It may be decided that gaps between advertisements be larger to ensure maximum exposure. Should the campaign be successful, a repeat of this pattern could be sanctioned for November or in January 2013. A gap of a month is recommended between runs to evaluate, refine the messaging and develop new compelling materials as required. As for coupling the campaign with physical events, well, it may be too early for iManifest to be attending, exhibiting or speaking at premier CIO-focused events during 2012, but forward-thinking to participation during 2013 should be considered. I explore this area in detail, in more detail within the executive summary, and I won't be going into too much detail today on that. We'll save that for a later date. But wouldn't it be ideal if we could pay for Dr. Frank to present the good message of IBM I at a CIO event, at a Gartner-sponsored symposium? I believe that it could add weight, it could add value. Now, all the click-throughs from the advertisements will be recorded and analyzed. But where are we directing the audience to? Well, iManifest will have two websites. One inward-facing for its partners and members, and one outward-facing for its potential customers of IBM I. And it'll be this, the IBMIadvantage.com website, that will be hosting the landing page. Now, for the time being, the EU website will remain how it is, but should be updated to reflect recent developments. The IBMiAdvantage.com website requires planning and development. IBM iAdvantage will also host pertinent downloads including case studies, white papers, fact sheets, and competitive analysis. In addition, the website will also be the repository for media such as podcasts, videos, social feeds, and the like. Both documents and media may be a mix of iManifest original, third-party, and IBM published, and we also have some thumbs up from IBM to go ahead with that. Within the IBM iAdvantage website will be the world-class microsite, the landing place for this particular campaign. The microsite will be themed to the campaign with the correct graphics, colors, and messaging. Pertinent content, that's documents, case studies, and white papers, will be available immediately on collation of contact details, with other documents, media, just being a click away on the main IBM iAdvantage website. Now, analytics will be employed here to analyze, measure, and the click-through volume. We'll also be measuring the downloads and interest points, while SEO will be used to maximize exposure for non-click-through audience. So we've developed a compelling campaign with appropriate targeted marketing, messaging, and planned the execution. But is it doable? Yes. You remember that one of the items on the chalkboard was scalable. The idea was to complete a campaign on committed pledges funds, but grow or even scale back depending upon additional pledges received or drop out between the two. And the campaign live date is in September. It is envisaged that with greater pledges, a more expansive campaign can be launched that may remove the impression limit and allow for additional publications with possible additions including exhibiting and speaking at relevant industry events. Now here you'll see the minimum campaign scope. This is the least effective option based upon a capped daily impression allowance using the IDG network of online CIO magazines, and this is going through UK, Germany, Sweden, and France. I'd like to expand this to other areas of EMEA, of course. So, as expected, we've a current pledge commitment that equals in the mid-30,000 € mark. This is our starting block, and we've scoped the campaign accordingly. Now, in addition to the advertising cost, we've taken a considered view on hiring an agency to develop the artwork and website. We're nearly ready with those, and they've been developed in-house by iManifest itself, but we need the professionalism of an agency to be able to put together animations or something more pertinent for the individual websites. As much of the adverts are looking good, they're really only working examples, and we'll need to revisit these with alterations for the appropriate web delivery. In addition, the landing site needs to be developed professionally with Google Analytics and SEO integration. Again, more on this within the executive summary. How can you help? Well, not only be involved in helping us format the messaging based upon the parameters and guidelines we provided today, but join the movement and pledge. Do what you can. The pledging costing model remains the same as the inaugural movement in 2009. As such, we are expecting that existing pledges be honoured. Now, unlike the original movement, which had a cap on places available, as the world-class campaign is scalable, the revised model is uncapped. Pledging is open to anyone within the IBMI community. ISVs, SIs, consultants, media publishers, event organizers, customers, whoever. We would encourage major players to pledge generously using the business class pledge, while ISVs, consultants, and the like have a choice of pledge using the premium and economy. Like the business model of an airline, the economy pledge would be unaffordable were it not for the patronage of a few business class passengers. So passengers of this campaign can buy tickets in one of the three classes. So business class being €8,100, premium €4,050, and economy pledge the €8,810. But we will accept whatever size that individuals can afford to put forward too. Please, just ask. So thank you for joining the launch of this campaign. Now is the time for action. There has been much debate and differences of opinion, but no plan on how to break the status quo. We now have one. The campaign may not be to everyone's liking, and the direction of the iManifest EMEA may stray from the original concept. But without these moves, nothing would or could happen. No doing, just more saying. It's clear that iManifest EMEA faces different challenges to that of Japan. But if the group remained with the original concept, little would happen. Even if it did, I believe it would have had little impact. Now EMEA has a plan, a scalable plan, one in which we can work with on the commitment pledges and one which will grow should we receive more. We want you to engage, not only through discussion and debate, but with action. If you can pledge, please do. If you have pledged, pledge more. Involve your partners, invite ISVs, do what you can, please. I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking you for your time and will now take a few questions.